So we've decided to get a rooster for our chickens, but it's the metal kind on this Weathervane. We're gonna put it on a cupola on top of this chicken coop. So stick around for this project at Project 9 Oaks. Well, we're back in the barn now, and I've kind of drawn up the schematic of what I'm planning to build here. So I have basically just a cube that we're gonna make, and then a pyramid on top is really just what it comes down to. We do have these notches cut out on the side where it's going to fit over the roof itself. The roof is a 45 degree, which makes it kind of easy. Taking a look at the roof though, it's not actually comes to a complete peak. That ridge cap is kind of flattened, drawn out. If you look at the video on building the coop, you'll see why. But I need to, make the end, two of the end pieces to have this notch cut out. So we'll work on that. And this is kind of a top view. I'm gonna put an X shape inside, and I'll show you that later, which I'm gonna try to have like a place for birds to kind of reside up in here. So these are the two boards that I have. I have some pressure treated plywood that's with the lumber prices of about $1 million right now, so I don't have much of this. So I'm actually going to use just regular plywood leftover. I'm trying to use just wood I have laying around. I don't have a whole lot of decently thick plywood, so we'll go with this, and I'll just paint this one really well, and hopefully it'll hold up for several years. So we'll first get this cut down to the shapes. I have 20 inches tall by 18 inches wide, and so that'll be the shape. So I'm going to go over to the table saw and start cutting these out. All right, well, here's the front and the back piece is what I'm going to be calling it, and it's got the notch drawn out here, and it's 6 inches tall. I'm just having it kind of sit down on the roof about 6 inches, and that means it's going to be about a 6-inch flat top here, and that's about as wide as that ridge cap was. And now I got them both here, both of the pieces secured together, so I'm just going to make one cut in both. And I ended up, the pieces that I had, the plywood that I had, wasn't big enough, so it's going to end up being two pieces that will make the front side. So it'll look like that. I'm about to cut this out with the jigsaw, really my least favorite tool, and I'll be doing that next. Now I'm going to join the upper and lower parts of the front pieces. If you had enough wood that you didn't have to do that, obviously you would have to go through this step, but because I didn't, and I'm just going with some cheap lumber that I had laying around, I'm going to go ahead and glue this backing piece to it. I might need to get some better glue. And then I'm going to screw it together. Check. All right, now that I've got all the ends built, or all the sides built, I'm going to start putting this together. So this is the front piece, with the notch out of it. I got the speed square up here just to be sure I'm lining it up. And it's going to look something like this. I'm going to attach it with these exterior screws. I think they're 1 5/8 length. And be sure I'm down far enough. This is where another person comes in handy. Not too far. All right, so I'm gonna get the rest of this and not really bring y'all along. I'm gonna kind of sink these in a little bit more and do the rest of the corners, and then I'm gonna end up putting inside panels on the top and somewhere in the middle here, so that'll square up this whole thing. All right, I have the kind of the shell of this completed. I have all the sides screwed in together, and I did put screws above and below the seam, the horizontal seam here, so that's going to be kind of good to hold the ends from curling in or out later on. So I have basically the front and the back here that has the notches, and then on the inside you see I have it built here, and these are those middle pieces that are holding the two ends, you know, the sides together. So what I think it'll work out is I'm going to put a panel down in here and rest it on top of this, and that'll keep this square. It's pretty square as it is, but it'll kind of make it square. So I'm going to fit a panel in that next. Okay, now that we have the panel done, I'm going to be gluing it down on top of these ledges that we made earlier. Put some glue down here on this ledge. All right, super perfect. And just let it fall. All right, I think we're good. Now I'm gonna secure these edges a little bit. Okay, so now it's the next day, and we've got this inner panel done and glued in. And I was looking for some more scrap wood that I had and cut it down. And basically, this is what we're gonna do next. And I may just glue this down, not really secure it much because it kind of stays in on its own. So this is the dividers that I'm going to be screwing in a, like using a hole saw to cut holes for where the birds can get in. And then there'll be places for 4 nests in here. And then I'm going to put this board, let's see, I think across the top. How did I have it? I think it was this way. And just something I just found. It looks like it's pretty close. It's got a little bit of a gap where you could get up into, like, I guess, you know, the attic of the cupola, but I don't think the birds would necessarily get up in there. It's not big enough of a gap, I don't think. All right, the next step is building this roof, which I'm trying to figure out as I go. When I 45 these, I'll just join these two and then have this one join the sides, and then I'll cut the extra length on the ends to where they're all the same. Yeah, I think a 45 might be too tall. Let's see. So I'll stick that here. Yeah, I don't think that actually joins in the middle. Now it's time to put the tin on this thing and kind of get it done. All right, so something like this, I'll just cut it with tin snips. I'm gonna take it outside and get a little more room. Here we go. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this next step instead of, well, you know, kind of explain it to you instead of show it to you, just because I don't have 3 hands. So I'm going to shove this under here. I've kind of tilted it up, and these 2x4s here are going to be up underneath the inside, and I'm going to screw them down to the roof. There's a 2x4, you know, like rafter kind of underneath the tin going this way. So I'm going to screw this in on the top, you know, on the other side, of course, and then I'm going to screw into the side here into that piece of wood. So that'll keep it secured down to the roof. I'm going to mark here, this marker where they go, and then pull the cupola off, screw those down in, put the cupola back on, and then screw into the side. And again, I'm likely going to take some of this old tin that I have strips of now and cut little strips and bend it in half, and so I can staple it to this so it'll have like a nice flashing around the bottom, and that'll kind of clean up, dress up the bottom edge here, and just make it a little bit better instead of these gaps. All right, well, here it is, a close-up view. Got the weather vane put on. I got some finishing touches to do. I got to screw in the north, south, east, west directions. Got to screw that set screw, and I think I'm going to trim this tree limb a little bit just so it kind of keeps from hitting it. So I think it's about done. Got it secured. Those are the screws, so it will probably be hidden with that piece of tin, like I said before, but I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to go down here so you can see the you know, the proportions. I was kind of worried about that, but I think the proportions are pretty good. So let me get this tripod out of the way. So there you go. I think that looks pretty good project. Anyway, thanks for sticking around for this one. I got some more coming up, so if you would, hit that like button and share this video with others, and stick around for the next project here at Project 9 Oaks.